What's poppin' YouTube? We poppin' YouTube because Ryzeal is out, man. Ryzeal is out and it is crushing ranked on Master Duel. Now, I just wanted to talk about this deck for a little bit. Wanted to talk about my experience as a player who's pretty casual and kind of flown in and out. And yeah, just kind of give my insights on what I think about this deck, what I think about the meta, and why it is a fantastic time to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel and a fantastic time for new players to be hitting up this game. If you've ever wanted to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you were ever like, oh my gosh, this game is so complex, this is the deck for you, man, because you're going to have so much fun, you're going to learn a lot, and it's going to kind of prep you and prime you for your Yu-Gi-Oh! Career, so to speak, you know, as if you want to continue playing or if not. So first I want to talk about how streamlined this deck is. Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of gets a bad rap for the complexity and having to have like a fucking, you know, doctorate degree to play some of these decks. Not really. A lot of these decks you can just kind of click and win. But there's a lot of reading involved, right? And Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of gets a bad rap for the strenuous amount of text on cards and the understanding of gameplay states to, you know, do semi-well consistently. This deck kind of says screw all that and kind of has like 3 steps that you can do in 3 different orders to kind of get to the end board. And the end board is pretty simple. You get your detonator out, you get your field spell out, and then if you're lucky, you get your back row out, which is like a trap card and a quick play spell. And then, you know, because this deck's pretty small, you can run a lot of hand traps or board breakers to crack your opponent's board if you're going second, hand traps if you're going first, and then you gotta like slow them down on their turn. This deck is very small. The engine of the Ryzeal cards itself is very small and contained, which allows a newer player to kind of really simplify the learning curve of getting into this game. Now let's talk about the strengths of this deck a little bit before we get to the weaknesses, because there are weaknesses. There's a lot of hubbub going around saying that this is the best deck. It's by far the best deck, especially in Master Duel when there's just so many powerful cards and powerful unrestricted things that you can do. So the first thing that I want to talk about, other than the streamline that we just went over, is the toolbox. You're able to play pretty much anything that takes 2 to more level 4 Exceed cards, which are these black cards right here. And because of that, this deck is extremely versatile. You can play this deck in like 25,000 different ways. You know, if you really wanted to experiment, this is a fantastic deck to invest in. And you can go from it being very simple, you know, when you're first starting out, trying to get a grasp of Yu-Gi-Oh! and Exceeds and how the game kind of works and functions. And as you grow as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, this deck can also be modified to grow alongside you, which a lot of decks can't do. A lot of decks are just innately super complex. So right off the bat, there is a progression with this deck, which a lot of cards, a lot of archetypes don't really offer. There are some, don't get me wrong, but those ones tend to also be extremely complex, whereas this one's not really complex, you know. So yeah, you have something to kind of work towards and to build up as far as like your player knowledge and what works with you and your play style, what you see on the ladder. And you can go for things like consistency, or you can go for things like blowout, you know, just flat out stopping your opponent. And yeah, this deck kind of really allows you to have a lot of player expression. And I think that that's a fantastic thing for someone who's, you know, not super familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! Or maybe coming back after a different format from years yonder. And so the next thing I wanted to talk about, what's really awesome with this deck, is it blends really well in the best of one that is Master Duel, right? For those who don't know, or maybe you forgot, you only go one game with your opponent, right? Whereas in a lot of other TCGs, it's usually multiple games, like in person. And so because of that, you need a deck that can kind of force your opponent's hand a lot of times, force your opponent to do things or react a certain way, and not so much rely on what your opponent wants to do, but forcing them to do what you want them to do before they're ready to do it, so to speak. And Ryzeal really really strives at that. It's really good because Detonator, your main boss monster, it's like an infinite pop, and a pop means destruction, so it can destroy cards pretty much indefinitely as long as it has a material on it to pitch, right? And then the field spell is fantastic because the field spell insulates your plays, which makes it extremely hard to destroy Ryzeal cards on your field, and then as well as it's a negate, which is insane. And so because of all of those reasons, you have this very easy learning curve that requires you to understand very few cards, but still outperform a lot of different mechanics and decks within the game. Specifically, a lot of rogue decks, a lot of like tier 2, tier 3 decks just completely flat out lose to this deck, and that's what allows this deck to do super well in Master Duel. Because best of one, you're going to be running into all kinds of decks and all kinds of different players. So yeah, the last thing I really wanted to talk about is someone who took a long hiatus. Is not everybody has time to become the fucking Seto Kaiba, the fucking Yami Yugi of Master Duel, and just learn, you know, a plethora of cards and interactions. And this deck really simplifies how much not only you need to know about your deck, but how much you really need to know about their deck, your opponent's decks, and like what's doing really well. Because oftentimes with Detonator out and you just popping stuff, right? Like it's infinite pops, right? So if you're just popping if you get 3-4 pops off in a turn or two, you're likely just going to win. And there's not a lot of cards in the game that can really keep up with that type of tempo, right? Detonator is super explosive. So if you are looking to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh, if you're looking to get back into Master Duel, or just trying it out for the first time, I highly recommend this deck, man. It's a little pricey. You got to get a little lucky with your pulls, but you can do it. All right, my name is Booty Chariot. Like, subscribe, deuces.